Some people wait for permission. Sara Blakely didn't. With just $5,000 in savings, zero experience, and an idea nobody believed in, she transformed an entire industry. All because she dared to ask one powerful question. Why not me? The early sun spilled across Clearwater, Florida, filtering through thin curtains into a small, tidy bedroom. Sara Blakely, 27, sat at the edge of her bed, staring at a pair of crisp white pants she loved, and the pair of pantyhose she hated. Every time she wore them, the seam at the toes showed through her shoes, the waistband rolled down, and the fabric dug painfully into her skin. She sighed, tossing the pantyhose on the bed. But then, her eyes landed on a pair of sharp scissors on her desk. A tiny, almost playful smile crossed her face. Snip, snip. She cut the feet off the pantyhose, slipped them on under her pants, and turned toward the mirror. The seam was gone. The look was smooth. For the first time, those pants looked perfect. Well, this actually works. It was a small fix to a small problem. But that morning, in that quiet room, something clicked. The first spark of an idea that would one day change her life. By day, Sara was not an inventor, not a designer. She was a door-to-door fax machine and copier saleswoman. She drove her aging red Toyota Corolla from one Florida town to another, in the sweltering heat, wearing a suit that was often too warm for the weather. She knocked on office doors, walked into reception areas, and gave her pitch, only to be interrupted, dismissed, or told, "We're not interested," again and again. Some days she heard no 20 times before lunch. But here's the thing. Each no was shaping her in ways she couldn't yet see. She was learning to take rejection without letting it crush her. She was learning to keep going when the answer wasn't what she wanted. These lessons, earned under the Florida sun, would become her armor for the battles ahead. Most people, after a day like that, would collapse in front of the TV or scroll through their phone. Sara didn't. She would sit at her small dining table, notebook open, pen in hand. She sketched out shapes, made notes about fabric she'd never worked with, drew crude designs of what her footless pantyhose might look like. What if I could make this for real? What if women everywhere could feel as confident as I do right now in these pants? Tabon thought didn't come with doubts. Not yet. She didn't ask herself how hard it would be, or whether she had the skills. She was thinking in possibilities, not limitations. That's the mindset that separates an idea that dies in a notebook from an idea that changes the world. Sara wasn't rich. She didn't have family money or investors, but she had determination and a number in her head. She believed she could start if she could save $5,000. So she went on what she called financial lockdown. She lived on $40 a week for food. She skipped vacations, skipped nights out with friends, stopped buying new clothes. While her friends were at bars or brunch, she was home making peanut butter sandwiches and putting every extra dollar into an envelope labeled Idea Fund. It wasn't easy, but every time she put money into that envelope, she felt herself getting closer to freedom. After months of sacrifice, she finally hit her goal. The envelope was full, and so was her resolve. With her savings ready, she began making calls to hosiery manufacturers. Most were in North Carolina, the heart of the U.S. textile industry. "Hi, my name is Sara Blakely, and I have an idea for a new type of pantyhose," she'd say with energy. The responses came fast and cold. "Honey, we've been making pantyhose the same way for 50 years. Good luck." Click. Some laughed politely before hanging up. Others didn't bother to pretend. She made dozens of calls, each rejection sharper than the last, but she kept going because she only needed one yes. In her 50th call, she finally heard something different. The man on the other end paused. "You know," he said, "my daughters have been talking about this footless thing. Maybe you should come down here." It wasn't a deal yet, but it was a crack in the wall she'd been pounding against for weeks. Sara knew nothing about fabrics, manufacturing, or patents, but she wasn't about to let that stop her. She went to Barnes & Noble, bought a $20 book on patent law, and read it cover to cover. Sitting at her kitchen table late at night, she drafted her own patent. In plain language she could understand. She made sketches, filled out the forms, and filed it herself. When it came to packaging, she couldn't afford professional models. So she rolled up her sleeves, put on the product herself, and stood in front of a camera for the photos. She didn't have perfect. She had done. Weeks later, she landed a 10-minute meeting with a buyer from Neiman Marcus in Dallas, one of the most prestigious department stores in the country. On the flight there, her heart raced. She rehearsed every sentence, visualizing the buyer's face when she heard the idea. In the meeting, Sara spoke passionately about comfort, confidence, and why women needed this product. The buyer listened politely, but didn't seem convinced. Sara took a risk. "Can we step into the ladies' room for a second?" she asked. A few moments later, she stepped out of a stall wearing Spanx under her pants. The difference was obvious. Smooth lines, no seams, perfect fit. The buyer's eyes widened. "I'll take it," she said. Months later, after getting her product into a few stores, Sara decided to try something bold. Send samples directly to TV stylists, including Oprah Winfrey's team. She didn't expect much. Until one afternoon her phone rang. "This is Oprah's team. She's going to feature your product on her Favorite Things episode." Sara's knees almost buckled. She knew what that meant. When the episode aired, orders exploded overnight. Her apartment turned into a mini warehouse. Boxes piled against the walls, packing tape on every surface. The sound of printers spitting out shipping labels late into the night. From the outside, it looked like Sara had suddenly made it big. But what the world didn't see were the years of rejections, the lonely nights working at her kitchen table, the endless no before the first yes. She didn't get here by knowing everything. She got here by refusing to think, "Why me?" Instead, she always asked, "Why not me?" And that single shift in thinking made all the difference. The Oprah moment had changed everything. Orders were pouring in, faster than Sara could process them. Most new entrepreneurs would panic. Sara didn't. She cleared space in her apartment, turning her living room into a command center. Friends came over to help pack boxes, the floor covered in brown paper, tape, and shipping labels. But she knew this pace wouldn't last unless she built something bigger. So she took the leap. She hired her first employees, personally trained them on how to speak to customers, how to tell the Spanx story, and most importantly, how to care about the women buying the product. To Sara, every phone call mattered. Every package mattered. She wanted every woman who opened a Spanx box to feel like they were part of something special. Her next big challenge was the Las Vegas apparel trade show, the place where major buyers scouted new brands. Sara didn't have the budget for a flashy booth with giant banners or runway models. Instead, she set up a simple table with a few samples, a stack of business cards, and her own voice as her biggest weapon. She stood in the aisle, stopping passers-by with a warm smile and a single question. Want to see something that will change how your clothes fit forever? Then she would pull out a before and after photo and watch their expressions shift from polite curiosity to genuine surprise. By the end of the show, she had more orders than she could have dreamed of, all because she showed up, even without the glamour. Success attracts competition. It wasn't long before big brands released their own footless hosiery, often at cheaper prices. Friends and advisors warned Sara, "They're going to crush you." But she didn't flinch. Instead, she doubled down on her story. "I started this in my apartment with $5,000 and no fashion background," she told every reporter who would listen. "This is personal." Customers connected with that authenticity. They weren't just buying a product, they were buying a piece of her journey. And that loyalty became her shield against the knockoffs. Sara knew she couldn't just sit in her office and hope stores would sell her product. She crisscrossed America, visiting boutiques in small towns and luxury stores in big cities. In New York, she spent hours training sales clerks on how to explain Spanx to customers. In Los Angeles, she slipped backstage at fashion shows to hand Spanx to celebrity stylists. In Atlanta, she hosted intimate Spanx parties where women laughed, tried on products, and left feeling transformed. These trips were exhausting, but Sara loved them. "Every time I see a woman light up in the mirror, it reminds me why I started this," she said. One morning, Sara's phone rang. She almost didn't answer. She was buried under shipping schedules and marketing notes. But she picked up. "This is Forbes magazine. We're naming you the youngest self-made female billionaire in America." Sara froze. Her mind flashed back to the copier sales days, to eating peanut butter sandwiches alone, to the 50 rejections from manufacturers. Now, she was being recognized as one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the country. It didn't feel real, and yet it was the direct result of every risk she had taken. Money wasn't the end goal for Sara. She remembered too clearly the feeling of starting out with nothing but an idea. So she launched the Sara Blakely Foundation to support women entrepreneurs and provide scholarships. "I know what it's like when the world tells you no," she told a group of young business owners. "I want to be the person who tells you yes." Her foundation began funding small ventures, from bakeries to tech startups, helping other women step into their own possibilities. When asked for her business plan, Sara often laughed. "I didn't have one," she admitted. "My plan was to start, to try, to figure it out as I went." She believed that too many people wait until they feel ready. But ready never comes. The moment you decide to start, you are ready enough. That was her billion-dollar lesson. Action beats perfection every single time. In interviews, she always circled back to the same truth. Most people talk themselves out of their dreams before the world even gets a chance to. Stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "Why not me?" she said. It wasn't just a catchy line. It was the compass that guided her through fear, rejection, and uncertainty. That question didn't just create Spanx. It created a movement of possibility thinkers. Today, Spanx is a global brand. Sara works in a bright, modern office filled with laughter, ideas, and the energy of people who believe in the mission. On one wall hangs a framed piece of fabric, the first pair of pantyhose she ever cut. Whenever a visitor notices it, she smiles and says, "That's where it started." Not with a business degree, not with $1 million, just with a pair of scissors and a belief that maybe, just maybe, it could be me. Her journey is proof that the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one often comes down to a single decision: to think in possibilities, not limitations. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more amazing stories, and share it with your friends.